Okay, so now we have implemented the configuration for both balances and the system pallets. But if you take a look at the main file, you're going to see that there are some duplications because the account ID is defined on both configs. I want in some way to reuse a config that belongs to the system pallet in other pallets. So instead of redefining the account ID, for example, which is something, by the way, that will be system-wide used, I want to define it only once in the system config, and then I want to use it inside the balance. So the way we do this is that we can inherit a trait from other traits. So in our case, instead of having the config in my config in my balances palette like this, I will inherit from the system config. So I don't need to implement the account ID anymore in the balances. So I removed this line here that was defined. So it's not defined here. Basically, we have this kind of a type. So for example, let's take a look at this trait. So we have the trait getName, as we saw before. And this trait has the function name. So when I inherit from it, I can use the function that is defined in this trait inside the implementation of my, let's say, sub trait that I defined under here. So the same goes here. When I inherit from the system config, everything that is defined in the system config can be used inside the config trait in the balances. So of course now I need to change some stuff because I don't have account ID anymore here. But on the other hand, I need to implement not only the config in the balances, but also the configuration in the system config for test config, the same way I did for other tests, because now I need to have all the types defined. So in some way, let's just import this. Okay, pretty simple, pretty straightforward. And if I go to my main file, you see I don't need to redefine the account ID anymore, so it's defined only once. So if I run it, everything is working, and if I test it, everything is working as well. So this is a very simple stuff, very simple step to make our pallets use a config from other pallets. In this case, the system pallet. There is a dependency between the, now this dependency was created, we didn't have it before. So this pallet, the balances pallet, was completely independent before. Now it depends on system, so we need to be careful about creating dependencies between pallets. But in this case, the system pallet is a very central pallet, and most of our system will be dependent on this system pallet. So this is not a huge problem in this case. And we get a lot of benefits because everything that is inside the system pallets now can be used in our, everything that is configured in the system is already available for the balances pallet.